Welcome back to Cinemaflex Music Picks. I'm Davey, your host with the most, the beast with the least. The least I can do today is take you through this month's indicator releases, powerhouse releases, and no time like the presents. Let's just batter in, shall we? We'll start with Hammer, because those of you that are only here for the Hammer content will check out as soon as I stop talking about it, so there's no point in making you wait. So, Creatures the World Forgot. So, you know what this is if you're watching from a Hammer point of view, in one of their nice box set editions, hardback box, limited edition to 6,000, of which this is number 471. The person with number 472 clearly feels like an idiot this morning, so detaches nicely, and as I discovered a few moments ago when prepping for this, I took plastic off, you do get some postcards, and none of them are suitable for YouTube. I find them perfectly acceptable. We've all got bodies, but yeah, I don't want the video taken down for that. However, that probably sells you on it more, doesn't it? The fact that I couldn't show you that. Yeah. However, what I can show you at least is the booklet. So, yeah. Directed by Don Chaffee, and starring Julie Edge, the Norwegian attempt to find the new Raquel Welch. Hammer had been very much since 1 million years BC and Slave Girls, trying to find the new Raquel Welch. Cast there. It's Tony Bonner, the rather distinct looking Tony Bonner. I think he was a male model at the time, or had been. There you go, Julie Edge, the search for the next Raquel Welch. They had doubled down on these historical epics, the ones I mentioned there, but also the Viking Queen, about Boudicca, as I seem to remember she was always called back in the day, but yeah. Directed by Don Chaffee, one of the, I don't want to say journeyman directors, because he had a great career, but he did like Greyfriars Bobby, and he did Jason and the Argonauts. He had a real, which is obviously perfect to get him to do this, then, isn't it? It was one of those kind of cool directors that you could stick into to a lot of different things. He did the Tyburn film Persecution, and the blaxploitation western Charlie One Eye. Ended up doing like Love Island, Fantasy Island, T.J. Hooker. Bizarre career, but I love that kind of. Yeah, I'm a director. You know what I can do? Direct. Where's the camera? Nice essay about Michael Carreras, the guy who tried to reinvent Hammer once he got control from his pops. Royce Geggs, the money man at Hammer. So again, this, although it's not 1 million years BC, it's treating it with all the love and affection that you would want. Look at that. It's just, yeah. Wow. And you get 3 comedy shorts by Don Chaffee included as well. And I say shorts, they're 49 minutes, then 18 minutes, starring Peter Butterworth and the meddling monk himself. So, yeah, great stuff. Lovely booklet, as always. And let's have a look at that cover art, because it really is gorgeous. Isn't that just a great painting in general? That's just fantastic. Why can't we have film posters like this anymore, folks? Please? Just once in a while. If you're the direct, shameless plug, I'm not getting anything out of this. I buy these. Powerhouse don't send me anything for nothing. One company does, but I'll tell you about them in another video. You get some nice lobby cards, which I can show you because they aren't full of breasticles. Although someone's being strangled by a python. Insert your own warriors, come out to play. Oh, God, that looks like Jesus being tortured by aliens, doesn't it? Peter looking like Clancy Brown there. very strange version of Lawrence of Arabia. So yeah, this is a really solid effort in this subgenre of Hammer of these historical that one worked, let's find another kind of things. Even she kind of started it obviously without quite as much titillation, but she was a massive hit. In fact, she may be the face I can't forget. And here's your other artwork for it. But absolutely stacked with extras, as you'd expect. I mean, look at that. That is just extras. That's not a description. That is extras. You get an audio commentary with Sean Hogan and Kim Newman. Shout out to Harold. 7-minute profile of Julie Edge. Jonathan Rigby does an appreciation of it for 25 minutes. Which, if you know Jonathan's work, means you're going to get about an hour's worth, because he knows his onions when it comes to anything Hammer. 26 minutes by David Huckvale talking about the score. David Huckvale wrote the book on Hammer scores. Literally, he wrote a book about the scores of Hammer pictures. I mentioned the Children's Foundation films. They've all got commentaries by Vic Pratt. So yeah, and a few other things. One thing to know though, this is a bit more violent and a bit more salacious than those other ones. There's a reason why those postcards had nudity on them. It's an 18 rated one for a reason. We're now in the period where Hammer was about to start their lesbian vampire things, so they are under the new Carreras regime, going further with the censorship and whatnot, which is fine, because Hammer always did anyway. There's a reason why it was the Quatermass experiment, wasn't it? But yeah, sensational release of a really solid entry in that subgenre of historical ish epics. But yeah, let's go to the Bullfighter and the Lady next, starring the great Robert Stack of Dragnet fame, who I recently covered in The Mortal Storm with Jimmy Stewart, I want to say. Yeah, pretty sure he was in that. I think he was one of the Nazi brothers. The Nazi brothers. You don't want to meet them in the night out. Hey, it's the Nazi brothers. Joy Page, Gilbert Rowland, and one of the loves of my life, Katie Jurado. This is I've seen this before in its shortened version, and this wonderfully gives us the full restored version. Produced by John Wayne. John Wayne pushed it through production, told Bud Bodicker, of whom directed, that this is going to be an A picture, don't worry. And then Bud Bodicker comes to find out, no, B picture, you need to trim 40 minutes out of the film. Bud was a master of 90-minute movies, as anyone who's seen his renowned cycle with Randolph Scott can attest. Also released by Indicator, shameless plug. Again, why is it shameless when I'm buying these things? I don't know. Maybe I just feel spoiled. And all of a sudden it was no longer an A picture, it was reduced to the B's. But it's now been restored, and we get the 2-hour version, 2 hours of Bud Bodicker greatness. I am very conflicted on the bullfights, because I understand the artistic aspect of why it used to be considered acceptable. But it's 2022, and this week in Spain, 5 people were killed in the running of bulls. I think, you're idiots. But wonderfully, what this film does is it doesn't sympathise so much with the bullfighter, it sympathises with the lady. So it doesn't say, oh, of course he has to do this is a noble art. It says, he shouldn't really do this woman loves him, why is he risking his life instead of spending time with Joy Page? Come on, Robert Stack, get it together. Orson Welles had a great time with bullfighting, a great journey with it, where in the 30s he became enamoured with it, following in the footsteps of Hemingway, and by the 70s he couldn't even attend them anymore without being physically sick. He'd seen so much blood, and I think that really sums it up. It's just a horrible bloody sport, and Orson said it better than I could. He said, the blood of the bullfighter didn't bother me so much, it was the poor bulls. Yeah, I'm with you, Orson. They didn't make the choice to go into the arena and be cheered by these bloody idiots wearing ridiculous outfits. But it's a again, not a film about bullfighting. It's set against the backdrop of bullfighting, but it's a film about, it's a romance, okay? But that it's not Hugh Grant, okay? Although I like Hugh Grant, but it's not Hugh Grant romance. It's traditional Hollywood romance, romanticized. Yeah, let's go with that. Again, brilliant extras. Glenn Kenny. When Glenn talks, I listen, and Farron Smith name do an audio commentary. You get an 89-minute audio recording of Bud Boddicker from 2001. You get his final film, which is a kind of semi-autobiographical documentary about his retirement years training horses and whatnot. Mary Boddicker in 2002 does a 36-minute piece about her fear of horses and living with Bud in his retirement years, despite the fact that she was terrified of his passion for horses. And then you get an hour-long documentary about Bud's whole career. So this, even if you don't like the bloody movie, it's worth it for the extras for Bud alone, because it'll be a perfect addendum to your Bud Boddicker box set that you've already got if you're a massive Indicator fan. And you should be, because look what they're putting out. Yeah. On your knees, boy. Don't know why I just put in a random Bono reference. I've been to too many YouTube videos on Ryan's channel. We come to what I think is one of the best films of 1970, and that is saying something, because what 1971 is for music, I think 1970 is for film. Easy Rider has now come out and been a hit, so we're now getting the fruits of that coming to pass. And here's one of them: Frank Perry's great Diary of a Mad Housewife, starring Carrie Snodgrass, who inspired this film, and her role in it inspired Neil Young's A Man Needs a Maid, that masterpiece. Shout out to Tyler. It stars Richard Benjamin as the husband, and Frank Langella as a very young Frank Langella as well, I won't say, because I think you should find out exactly what. Put it this way: her madness isn't mental health. Her madness is staying in a relationship that's ultimately unfulfilling and living the American dream turned nightmare. So Carrie finds herself married to the wonderful, handsome Richard Benjamin, who would go into a terrific career as a director, but at this point was a great leading man, and he was in Catch-22, he'd been in Westworld and things. But again, 1970, so we're still kind of seeing this very idealized American housewife role, but this film is one of the first to come along and say, I think women are people too. I don't know about you folks, but I think women have they've got as much right to be heard as men. I think they should be able to make, God forbid, choices. So it really explores Tina, Carrie Snodgrass's character, as she comes to that same realization that just because I'm married to the fantastically gorgeous Richard Benjamin doesn't mean I can't be also having thoughts about the fantastically bouffant wearing Frank Langella. It's written from the book by Sue Kaufman, but adapted by Eleanor Perry, Frank's then wife. And I don't want to show too much. Oh my goodness, look at Frank Perry there. He looks like never mind Frank Perry, that's Matt Berry, Toast of London. I can hear you, Clem Fandango. Again, full of great stuff, like big long interviews that are transcribed and whatnot. There's Frank Langella with that hair that I was talking about there. What happened to that, Frank? What happened to it? Well, it fell out. It was no great. Here's the sad part. Carrie Snodgrass. We need to go into it. So Neil Young's inspired to write the song Man Needs a Maid. He hooks up with Carrie, because he's written this song about her character in this film, about misogyny and how a man can easily feel that's what he needs in a relationship, but also the woman should feel like she deserves more than just being anybody's maid, and that's what this film's about. Carrie had an Oscar nomination, a BAFTA nomination. The world was at her feet. She never got it. Never capitalised for whatever reason. she did end up staying at home quite a bit in relationships. The one with Neil deteriorated. She hooked up with Jack Nietzsche, who was abusive and violent and threatened to kill her. And never recaptured this form in terms of being a leading lady, a leading actor. Let's not gender this. A leading actor, because she is the star of the show here. It's sensational, absolutely sensational performance. But I remember she popped up in the X-Files, and I remember watching that and going, I love the X-Files, but it's kind of sad. Carrie should be up there with Diane Keaton, Meryl Streep, these kind of 70s actresses who would, define the era. She should be considered one of those, because her performance here is, I promise you, as good as anything that those ladies put on screen. And she died relatively young and is somewhat unknown now. And when you hear about her, you tend to hear about her only in the context of the Neil Young song, which is tragic, because this is a masterpiece. And Frank Perry is an absolute genius. I'm glad that Indicator are bringing out The Swimmer soon, even though I've got a stacked American Blu-ray of it. I'll support any Frank Perry releases, because he was a low-key version of New Hollywood's. That great movement of Altman, of Ashby, of Raffleson, of I'm talking about the New Hollywood of the movie brats, the boomers, if you will, De Palma. Funnily enough, Carrie would be in The Fury, De Palma's Fury in 1978. It's a terrific movie. It's a brilliant film about gender identity and the women's revolution, but in a quiet way. It's not preachy about it. It's just saying, look, why should it be preachy to say a woman deserves more? Why is that this woman's unhappy with a man that's not treating her well. He's treating her okay, he's not mistreating her, but he's treating her like she's, the furniture. She's got jobs to do. Why is the silver not being polished? Why is the dinner not on the table when I return from work? That kind of stuff. And this day, she goes mad by saying, enough, fucking enough. The line is drawn here, this far, no farther. I'm away to shag Frank Langella. And, So, it's not even a spoiler. It's not that kind of movie. It's more of a. There is a nice little thing at the end, but there is. It is very much a journey, not the destination kind of movie. But sensational. So, Indicator. For goodness sake, 3 films this month. Couldn't be more different, and yet all wonderful in their own ways. A really salaciously, kind of sleazy, but you know what you're getting into, so don't complain. Historical epic, and a romance in the classical and traditional sense, set against the backdrop of the bullfights, and an exploration of sexual and marital mores. That's a slate and a half by any standards. You don't get more diverse than this in 3 movies, really, do you? So God bless the good folks at Indicator. Long may they run, to go back to a Neil Young reference. Long may they run. And I'm way beyond excited next month for some Henry Fonda greatness, some Richard Widmark greatness, and 2 Robin Hood movies, 2 of my favourite Hammers, just for pure nostalgia's sake. So there'll be certainly more Hammer content next month as well. But I've managed to do this in under 19 minutes. I'm becoming more and more concise. 3 movies in 19 minutes. For me, that's a miracle. By the way, the Carrie Snodgrass, the diary, also has 2 versions of the film, but the TV version is not as good, and there's loads of extras on there as well, Britannia Alda and Lee Gamblin and whatnot. But this is a film where you want it for the movie. The extras are a great bonus, obviously, but you definitely want this. If you haven't seen it, blind buy it. That's me just covering it for the fact that I forgot to talk about the extras there. You never noticed, did you? Folks, thanks very much. as always, stay safe out there, eh? For me, love and mercy, my friends. Love and mercy. Take it easy.